To our viewers, welcome to this exclusive interview with Ambassador Tiina Intelmann, President of the Assembly of States Parties International Criminal Court. Madam President, welcome to the interview. Madam President, this 12th session that started on the 20th and ending today, the 28th November, has been faced with many challenges, horse trading resulting in consensus in some issues. Do you say the 12th session has been a success?
Yes, I really think that the 12th session has been a success. And you said that it had many challenges, it is true, but we have to see also that the International Criminal Court is only a little bit more than 10 years old. And now it has really started to work. It is quite obvious that there are issues that come up, there are also political issues that come up, and this is why I should also say that probably this session has been the most political session that we have had. Because normally the Assembly is a body that provides administrative oversight to the work of the court comes to us, reports on what they're doing, but it is an independent institution, judicial institution. So normally we provide only administrative oversight, but this time really the discussions have been political.
The session has been dominated by disagreements on which amendments was to be taken on board. Has this weakened the Assembly of States Parties unity, creating an unhealthy atmosphere among nations which may discourage other countries from joining you?
I think that the atmosphere has indeed been quite good, on the contrary. Because what we saw, for instance, over summer, what we saw in early September, was really a lot of frustration among some states parties about the court, and a lot of misunderstanding as to what the Assembly collectively, what states parties collectively could do. Well, concerning the amendments to the rules of procedure, this is a process that we have been undertaking together with the court already over a number of years. Mm-hmm. Because the first judicial cycle is almost over, and we need to see what to do to expedite judicial proceedings. So the amendments to the rules, it's not something that is completely unusual or something that we invented during this assembly. We have been doing that steadily over the past years. Of course, this time there were many discussions also about the issue of witnesses, also about the presence of the accused during the trial, against the background of Kenya cases.
There has been growing pressure by African states through the African Union to pull out of the Rome Statute, citing being targeted. Does this worry you, Madam President?
Well, recently I haven't really heard of any talks about pulling out. Everybody is trying to work together.
But I'm talking about what happened in Addis Ababa.
Yes, but I should say I went to Addis Ababa also. I did see the very tense atmosphere that was there. And this is exactly why I did go to Addis Ababa. And before the summit, I wrote a letter to the leadership of the African Union saying that if you have concerns, please come and address them within the Assembly framework. Of course, the African Union as such is not a party to the statute, but there are 34 African countries that are parties. However, I went even further. I invited specifically one high-level representative of the African Union also to come as my special invitee to the Assembly to explain what the problems are. Well, this didn't materialize, but at least I know that I have extended this invitation. And also during the special segment, the Legal Counsel of the African Union was able to express. So I really think that right now we are in the mode of engagement. We talk to each other and we see what problems we have.
Madam President, what is the future of the Assembly of States Parties in the wake of all this push and shove by some states parties, which is known to you, especially from the African continent? How serious do you take Africa and their complaints?
As President of the Assembly, I take all states parties extremely seriously. And I have been traveling extensively, meeting with political leaders of countries to find out if they have any concerns and what we should do. We are also very much aware of the fact that the court is only as strong as the support of states parties to the court. It is essentially a voluntary arrangement. States join voluntarily, and also they should then cooperate with the court and support it in different ways. So we take every concern very seriously, but of course also all that is written in the Rome Statute is by no means a mistake or just due to the fact that someone may have overlooked something. No, it was very carefully negotiated, and everything in the Rome Statute has a specific meaning to put end to impunity.
If the African states feel they are not being listened to by the ICC and are forced to encourage their leaders to ignore the court, what steps do you foresee being taken in order for the ICC not to collapse or degenerate into a court with many arrest warrants out there of no value, since the court cannot go out and arrest whoever they issue warrant of arrest against?
Yes, it is true, the court cannot go out and arrest, but I am also confident that if we look at the background of the cases that the ICC is dealing with, the majority of them are because the state concerned came to the court and asked the court to get involved. Uganda, Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo, Comoros, Mali, even Cote d'Ivoire launched several declarations accepting the jurisdiction of the court. So in this respect, I'm also confident that states will continue with arrests. Just a few days ago, 4 people were arrested in different countries in connection with the Bemba case. It is true, for instance, there are outstanding arrest warrants, like arrest warrant against Joseph Kony, but I am quite confident that we will get to it. And also, this is a permanent criminal court. We have all the time to wait.
Justice is important to all of us. Is the Assembly vis-a-vis the ICC fulfilling its mandate of ensuring that the international justice prevails or is upheld, given that still in the 21st century, some states, through their leaders, still commit atrocities against their people?
We are trying to do what we can. The Assembly is composed of 122 states that have voluntarily adhered to the Rome Statute. And of course, the ICC has a very clear role in the overall system of international organizations and in the overall international structure. But of course, we are limited in our reach because not all states have joined. And this is why we're working towards universality of the statute. When we will reach the full universality, I do not know, but at least I know that those countries that have joined have the ultimate guarantee that serious crimes will not go unpunished because there is the ICC as a court of last resort.
Let us talk about amendments, especially those that will affect the present Kenya cases, which were applauded by African countries. Most European countries were not the willing partners. Do you think the West has now woken up to the reality that Africa is no more a pushover continent?
Well, I think that at the end of the day, we all realized that there were certain situations that the negotiators of the Rome Statute could not foresee. And one of these situations was really that we would have a president and the vice president both indicted by the ICC and having to appear before the court. And I think that there was a growing understanding that we should look into the flexibilities of the Rome Statute. And this is why also this rule was amended, also saying very clearly that a person that has to fulfill or has to be in higher office, has to perform certain tasks, has been elected to perform certain tasks, then that person in certain conditions can also be represented by counsel or to participate via video link. And this is also something that the court itself had already said through its decisions, because the court also understands that if we have a big and significant country like Kenya with 2 top leaders indicted, they have to be able to run the country also. So in a way, we have all woken up to the realities of the impact of the court. But I think that the understanding was there among Latin American countries, among Western European countries, that we should look into flexibilities.
But to follow on that one, before you go, I still have 3 more questions, but to follow on that one, many cases when they start, they have to have the accused people to appear and plead guilty or not guilty. This amendment is very important for the Kenyan leaders, I know. Is there a situation where the court will demand that President Uhuru Kenyatta has to appear in the court and plead guilty or not guilty during the opening of the case?
The trial is scheduled to start on 5th of February next year. And I really do not know how the judges will now interpret the statute in connection with the rules of procedure. As I said, we have created some flexibilities, but still a lot depends on the judges. It's a court that is independent from the assembly, so we will have to see what the judges
But the
decide.
court must represent the assembly, must respect the assembly.
Well, the assembly creates the framework, the legal framework. We are the custodians of the law, but at the same time, the interpretation of the law is still up to the judges. And there are certain flexibilities, but also the text that was adopted says very clearly that the judges have to consider all circumstances. So we will really see how this situation develops, and I do not want to take the position of judges because I have been not elected to this position.
Every time African leaders through the African Union complain about the ICC, they are brushed aside by countries that are not even members to the Rome Statute, like the United States of America, for example, who is not a member. What is your take on this? Why should non-member states harass member states? Should you not, as the president of the Assembly of States Parties, come out publicly and defend them?
I am constantly also calling upon the US and other non-parties to join the statute. This is one of my priorities, to remind to everybody that this statute is open for accession. I do not know anything in particular about this so-called harassment of states parties, of course by non-states parties. However, a question has been raised with me that when we are having state party meetings, sometimes these state party meetings should really be only for parties and not open for non-parties, because sometimes states parties want to have discussions just amongst themselves. And I am mindful of that concern.
Many analysts are worried that the ICC may collapse because it is being very much politicized. Do you share their worry?
I don't see the ICC being that much politicized. I think even that the contrary may be true. That the ICC does not allow politicization, and that the prosecutor has said that she intends to be an independent prosecutor and not to listen to anybody outside, because this is why we elected her. And also the judges.
Do you have faith in the chief prosecutor?
I have faith in the prosecutor. She was elected by states parties by consensus. She has been working now for almost 2 years. I have to have faith in her. And if states parties lose faith in judges or in the prosecutor, then we have also opportunities to look into these issues. But for the time being, no concern has been raised with me formally. and I trust that the elected officials of the court are working well and they are working independently. Now, concerning the politicization, of course, a lot of times issues are raised also with me, why the court doesn't address this issue, that issue. Recently, a lot about Syria. We have to be mindful of the fact that the court does not have jurisdiction in Syria because Syria has not joined the statute. And these are things that probably sometimes people do not realize, that for the court to take up the situation in Syria, it would need a Security Council referral. The United Nations Security Council would have to refer the situation. This has not happened. But it has nothing to do with states parties and nothing to do with this court.
But do I understand you to mean, because this is a follow-up again, that if state parties are disappointed with the way the chief prosecutor and the court are doing the business, that if they raise with you their problem, you will take it up?
There are also certain modalities provided in our rules. If there is evidence that the prosecutor or the judges are not fulfilling their mandate according to the rules, it can be taken up by the Assembly. But no complaints have been launched up until now, and I trust that all these elected officials have been working very well.
Madam President, when will the world see the court prosecuting people committing atrocities? Now that you mentioned Syria, for example, I'm thinking about Israel, Palestine, and other European countries, even Asian countries.
Concerning Syria, I said Syria is not a state party. The same concerns Israel. Palestine is also not party to the statute. We have very, very few states parties in Asia. So it also means that the jurisdiction of the ICC is very, very limited. It's only limited to 122 states.
Finally, Madam President, what message do you have for all world leaders concerning respect for the rule of law and respect for the citizens of their nations?
The rule of law is a very important thing. And I would call upon not only leaders of states parties, but also non-states parties to criminalize the most serious crimes under international law, like war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity, to create a possibility to prosecute these crimes and investigate these crimes domestically.
Madam President, Ambassador Tiina Intelmann, thank you for granting us this exclusive interview today.
Thank you very much. So,